Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to another 28 days and 28 verses. And we only have today and tomorrow left in this series. Well, I wanted to share with you another verse yet today, which has had a great impact on my life. And it's really two verses that I'm going to put together. And we're in the book of Romans. Now, Romans chapters 1 through 11 has really covered a lot of church doctrine. And I only point that out because the first word that we're going to see here is therefore. And so it's saying, in light of all that's been discussed leading up to this point, therefore. So let me go ahead and read today's verse to you. Romans chapter 12, verse 1. Therefore I urge you, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living and holy sacrifice, acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what the will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect. Now, I want you to think here it's saying, therefore, in light of all these things which have been previously discussed, and we would be here a long time if we previously discussed all that, but it's saying now put this into action. By the mercies of God, in anything that we do, really, we're going to have to rely upon His mercy. We're going to have to rely upon His grace to bring that transformation in our life. We are quite thankful that the Lord is patient with us, aren't we? And you know, I say that, and then the next thing I'm thinking is we need to make sure we're patient with other people around us. So we are quite thankful that God is merciful, shows His grace to us. He's patient with us, right? So now we are encouraged to present our bodies as a living and holy sacrifice. You know, it's quite different. A living sacrifice, normally a sacrifice was taken to the Lord, laid on the altar, and its blood was poured out. What of us? What does this mean? Are you willing to give yourself to the Lord, to say, whatever your will is, your will be done? You know, many would say those words, but do you truly mean it? You see, a sacrifice, once taken to the temple, once laid upon the altar, you can't get it back. So we're being told here that in light of these previous scriptures, that now, taking the word of the Lord, which you know, offer yourselves as a living, holy sacrifice. And then it's telling us to not be conformed to the ways of this world. It's a big part of the challenge that I've had for you with a number of the verses we've looked at. Allow yourself to come apart, to come away from this world. It's not to say that we're not in the world as far as having an influence, but we're not in the world as far as their activities. We're not offering up ourselves as a sacrifice to the ways of the world, but we are called to offer up ourselves as living sacrifice to the ways of God. So this idea, transformed by the renewing of your mind, this transformation is really the transformation you think of metamorphosis. That's really the underlying Greek word and terminology there, is that metamorphosai, or my Greek's not as great as my coworkers, but that changing. And that changing is not, you don't look at the tadpole in a pool and then like instantly he's changed. It's gradual, isn't it? It's a process. And so that's what it's going to be for any believer. For you, for I, it's that gradual change as the Lord works through us to perfect us, to make us into who He has called us to be. I wanted to look at one verse here, 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 18. It says, "But we all, with unveiled face, beholding as in a mirror, the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into the same image from glory to glory, just as from the Lord, the Holy Spirit. So we're being transformed. We're being made into a new person. That transformation, that tadpole transforming into a frog, that caterpillar being transformed into a butterfly, we are going through that process if we only submit to Him, if we offer up ourselves as a living, holy sacrifice. Let me read these two verses again before we finish today. Romans chapter 12, verse 1. Therefore I urge you, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies a living and holy sacrifice, acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what the will of God is, that which is good, acceptable, and perfect. God's desires for you are good, acceptable, and perfect, but we must be willing to present ourselves to Him. And don't forget a key word here. It says that this is how we worship the Lord. This is our act of worship before Him, is to present ourselves to Him. I said just the other evening to somebody that person, when they tithe to church, that gift to church is an act of worship. The individual who makes cookies and brings them to the children's Sunday school class, that is an act of worship. You may not really think of it that way, but giving is an act of worship. And true worship, true giving, a true sacrifice is something which you give that you can't get back. And the word sacrifice in particular is giving something that you're going to miss, something that is going to affect you. So when you give a sacrifice, it's not out of your bounty as much as it's out of what you have in reserve. It's giving a part of you that you're going to miss, and through missing that, you are able to worship the Lord in full. Well, brother and sister, I do hope that this verse today has been a challenge to you and a blessing. Until tomorrow, God bless.